Okay, so let's get started. So good morning, both Josie and I welcome you to our fall series, speaker series kickoff with our Dr. Ava Mortley, which will be introduced more formally in a few moments. We've been hosting our Social and Up Close Network Lounge since March 2020, and it's been a very successful program. We also hope that one day we can meet again in person, which will make such a difference again. We trust that you've all had an enjoyable summer. It was a fab summer here in Kingston, Eastern Ontario. Just a few housekeeping notes. Please note that this presentation is being recorded because we will be showing it on the Women Mean Business YouTube channel, and all those that did register will receive a copy of the recording. Please keep your microphones on mute and use the chat rooms for any questions you may have, because we'll have a Q&A period after Ava's presentation. We are thrilled to welcome Dr. Ava Mortley, owner of the Cher Mare Day Spa. We thank you, Ava, for your time and that you're giving us this morning. We understand how busy you are, but before we go into any further little bio, I wanted to extend our congratulations to you for the honor of winning the Kingston Civic Award. Congrats on that. That is fabulous news.
Thank you.
Ava moved to Kingston from Trinidad and Tobago to do an undergraduate degree in engineering at Queen's University, followed by a master's and PhD in materials and chemical engineering at the Royal Military College. And in 2013, Ava opened the first day spa using the family's brand name Cher Mare products in downtown Kingston, and expanded to open her second one in the West End in 2018. She is currently the chair of the Tourism Kingston Board, co-chair of Queen's University Council on Anti-Racism and Equity, member of the Downtown Business Association, board member of the Kingston Economic Recovery Team, CURT, and chair of the subcommittee for underrepresented groups in the workplace for CURT. For over 20 years, Ava has actively volunteered as youth diversion. Along with her partner, Ted, they enjoy raising 4 young children, Wyatt, Ryder, Meredith, and Otto. Boy, you are a busy lady. And more recently, Ava has been organizing panel discussions through the Kingston Let's Talk platform to share and normalize the dialogue about the lived experience for racialized members of the Kingston community and how we can all work together to make a more equitable and anti-racist future. Ava, thank you for your time. The show is yours.
Well, that was a mouthful. Thank you. Morning, everyone. And I'm so delighted to be here with you today. And I guess you got a little background, but I'll just go a little further to talk about me so we can get a little bit acquainted and you can get a scope of what makes me and who makes me and the things that make me tick. And so I grew up in Trinidad and Tobago. And if you are following Twitter right now with Nicki Minaj, I think everybody knows what Trinidad and Tobago is. But I digress. That's not, what we would like to be familiar with. I grew up in a very tight-knit family whose values are the importance of community, resourcefulness, resiliency, and doing what it takes, not just to rebound, but also to excel and to ensure that all those around us are also lifted up in the process. My great-grandmother moved her family of 8 to the city from the country when one of her children died from pneumonia. She vowed to do better and instilled in her children, which then was passed along to grandchildren, the importance of education. She herself becoming a teacher and opening a school and teaching until the age of 93. Combined with my family in high school in Trinidad, it was an all-girls school called Bishop Anstey High School, celebrating 100 years today. And it's really known for producing students who are known for their tenacity, their drive, their fortitude. I think that helped kind of mold who I was. And I think being adaptable was ingrained from all of those experiences. And it was definitely tested when I first came to Kingston to do my engineering degree at Queen's. Arriving at Queen's was a huge culture shock, and it was so starkly different from the mosaic of cultures and people that I was used to. And there were a few moments where I thought, oh no, what am I doing? And I wanted to call it a day. But I was guided from my life experiences, and I really dug deep and got through the first term. And what I was able to do was, I guess, cultivate a community and kind of branch out more into Kingston. And it's that community that I continue to draw on and want to support in any way that I can. So after I completed my bachelor's, master's, and PhD, I decided to open a spa because clearly that's the obvious choice. And but as one of the things I decided to do, I realized that community obviously was very important to me, and that's one of our big pillars in our spa. On the onset of COVID in Kingston, obviously personal services were significantly affected. In fact, we were closed, I think, almost 6 months, or only able to do partial services maybe 8 months out of the last 18 months. And with 17 staff and 2 locations, I wanted to think, how else can we support our staff during that time? And needed to become quick with a solution. And so because we make our own products, we were very fortunate, and we were able to, one of the things, when I sat back and I thought, well, what can we do and how can we expand better, is what we get from feedback from people. People, as soon as they step into the door, will say, oh my God, the smell, it feels so great in here, the warmth, I just feel really energized when I come in. And I thought, how can we bring this feeling to people at home? And so we used our products and we started to curate these boxes. And we made these spa in a box, where we would do like theme boxes, so a facial in a box, a pedicure in a box, a thinking of you box. And we were able to start, using the base of what we had in Kingston. And then we were able to mirror that, and then expand to the GTA area. And also during that time, there was a competition for Black business professionals, and I entered, just to speak about what you were doing and how you were pivoting, with the word I don't particularly love, but what you were doing during the COVID time. And I was really successful and able to win a grant to continue to support those efforts. And I thought that, as I said, community is important. So while we were doing that, we realized that, we still have to give back to our community, and we still have to support other businesses around us, because I can be booming, but if everybody around me isn't, then that doesn't really make for a good, community. I don't really want to show up to work when there's no stores around. And so we decided to look at other sectors that were also affected, and how can we combine things. So we did a YGK box that was really well received. I think in the first round of COVID, people were like really trying to, champion their local businesses and support in whatever way they could. And so we made a box that we tried to sell. You can buy it personally. And so it had like a YGK mug made by Lace and Twig. We had a pairing of olive oil from Kingston Olive Oil and Company, a gift certificate to Black Dog Restaurant, so you can use in any of their 4 locations. We had coffee from Northside Coffee. We had chocolate from Coco Bistro. So we really tried to kind of tap into different sectors and to try to get that box. And a lot of people bought it for their staff. So in lieu of, Christmas parties, this is what they gave to them. And then so during the year, we realized, can we keep doing it? So we did a few theme boxes. So we did a Dad Day box. We did a Mother's Day box. And then we're going to, again, do another Christmas box coming. And then I also realized, well, who else is really in need in this, and who else can use support? And so we did a box specifically featuring like BIPOC, so Black Indigenous people, and, supporting their products, because just really championing the fact that many BIPOC communities don't have access to funding, and hence the creation of the Black Entrepreneurship brand recently, that other people may have access to. So really wanted to support those sectors as well. So did a separate box for that. And then I realized that with this pandemic kind of following on that trend, it really showed who our most vulnerable groups are. And it also kind of brought up conversations that we weren't really having before. I don't know if it's because we were home or if it was just the climate. I mean, soon after things that happened with George Floyd, there just was also an impetus of people to kind of have more conversations that maybe they avoided or never thought of. And so I was getting calls from friends who have had for 30 years saying, we're so sorry, we never realized these things happen. And so I started Let's Talk Kingston, and it was a really nice platform because it put familiar people to people in Kingston and allowed them to just speak of their experiences. And it was a great way to learn. So we had just a general panel, the first one, and then we had one to do with Indigenous panel with some elders and different people in the community. And then we had one with law, where we had the chief of police, we had the CEO, Lani. And from that, actually, we had further discussions that we were then able to get the EDI position that's now filled in the city that reports directly to the CEO. And I think all that's really to say is that as an individual, we can impact change. I think sometimes we get inundated when there's a problem or a challenge in life and become really overwhelmed by the magnitude of it. Or we think, we don't often listen to our heart. We listen to like rationale, or we shouldn't do this, or this is the way that we should do it. But I really do believe in, listening to yourself and then breaking things down into small, manageable pieces to try to find a solution. And, with my engineering background, I spent many years testing how things respond to different conditions. Things may break, they may rebound. And I think running a business is very similar to that. How can we maximize the conditions that we're given? If something changes, how can we rebound from it to see if we can get a different result? Or how can we get a better result? And if it doesn't work, that's okay. You just kind of try again. And I think we just have to realize that we are all adaptable. We all have it within us to make different changes so that we can be more successful in whatever that definition may mean for you in whatever aspect of your life. And we just really have to kind of remember to break it down into small pieces, and then just look for support systems within the community. There's many such as this, where you can get resources in particular for business, and just try options, rinse and repeat and try again. So I think really that's kind of summarizing a lot of, what I do and who I am. And I think maybe more of a dialogue. So if anybody has any other questions or thoughts that they wanted to share, I'm happy to kind of answer that in more detail here now. Oh, Gabby, I think there we go.
Yes. So does anyone have any questions? By all means, unmute yourself and direct the question to Abba. Manya.
Yes, I just wanted to ask, you talk a lot about community. What do you feel is your best approach to try and encompass everyone with what you're trying to do, and how you try and get that message across?
Oh, I think like the first step is that I can't encompass everyone, right? Because there's everybody has a different ideal as what they think a community is or what they think is important in that respect. So I would say, like, you find that you start with things that you relate with, that resonate with you, and then you see how you can start to incorporate that. So for example, for me, I volunteer for youth diversion. So one of the first charities we did was we collected gifts so that we can give to some of the youth, or we have donated to their kids' helpline. Because, especially during the pandemic, there are a lot of young teenagers who have a lot of angst and anxiety, and that's grown. So we would we would incorporate it in our services, that we would give $5 for every manicure that someone did that month. Or I do a lot of stuff for United Way and like period poverty. And so, it's a predominantly female-based industry, the spa, though, we have men who do come in. And so we invited people to bring, personal care products and sanitary products. And again, we would give them a discount off of these services. So I think just start with things that you kind of do already innately, or that you may, have a cause for, and then bring that into what you are doing in a manageable way that it would benefit both of you. And then I think once you start doing that, then request that coming in. So then you see other people and other examples, and you can see whether it's a fit or not, and incorporate that way.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, we find that, when we started our Women Mean Business, the partnership marketing is huge, and bringing with the community that you live in, Manya, there's a lot of growth happening and opportunities there. So there's the partnership and introducing yourself and from all sorts of different levels of organizations that may help with your product launch as well that's coming up. We can talk more about that and give you some more ideas. But the partnership marketing has really been fabulous. It's a great foundation that you build. I found that.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Basically, my community here, because I worked in corporate for so long and I commuted, even though I've lived here for 3 years, I don't really know my community. So I think that's going to be a big focus for me, is getting to know my community and, building and helping my community, because it's a great place to live.
Absolutely.
Where do you live, Manu?
I'm sorry?
Where are you located? In Kingston?
I'm in Brighton, Ontario.
Brighton. Okay, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's only like, I was there, it's an hour and 15 minutes. It's great. It's so hard, and it's a great area all around. Lots of great towns there, lots of opportunity. So
yeah, it's definitely growing. Even in the 3 years that I've been here, I've really noticed. And the people that I do run into in the grocery store in the odd time, now that I'm home full time, I'm actually being able to explore a little bit more of my community. And people are very, I've found sometimes in a big city, it's just kind of hi bye kind of thing. But here people actually take a few minutes and talk with you and, you know, see what you're all about. So I really look forward to, you know, getting more of that. So I was just kind of curious, about how you went about starting with that. So
yeah, and I guess as I said, like I had volunteered, so I guess maybe if there's something that you can incorporate, like I think also finding, you know, what may work time wise, like can you give time or can you give, you know, like just looking at your schedule and yourself and see how it is that you want to give back. So if it's time, is there a volunteer organization that you can go to and donate? Is it quarterly? Is it monthly? You know, just assessing it and just having a chat with those people. And I know you said like before I saw like with your candles, like is there any once you get ingrained, like can you give 50 cents of each purchase towards this? And like they also let their people, you know, their organizations and the people who support them know. And so then, you know, that way it's a two-way kind of contribution. So I would start with finding out somewhere that if you do want to volunteer, where do you want to? Or just even just talking to an organization, if it's that it's not time, but the value is that it's 50 cents per candle or whatever that may be. But that's also giving them value. And so that may also look that way. So just pairing somebody with the messaging that you're trying to send.
all right, great.
Thank you. Thank you, Abba. Thank you, Manya. Anyone else have any questions?
Abba, I love your energy. And I think I have one question is what do you do to protect that energy? Especially in the past 18 months, it's been extremely difficult for entrepreneurs, especially for entrepreneurs in the travel, hospitality industry, restaurant. So, and you have a beautiful family. So how, like, what are some of the things you do to protect that?
That's a great question, actually. And if I were to be honest, I would say that like I did not do a very good job for the first 14 months. If I just if we're being really honest, I actually didn't. I put myself totally last. And so what would happen is that, you know, I'm very energetic. So like when I go down, like my husband's always like, oh, here comes the crash. So then what happens is like, I'm like this, and then I totally crash. Like I just want silence. I just want to like, I usually, I only sleep maybe like 5 hours a day, 4 or 5 hours. Like I don't sleep very much, but whenever I have my crash, it's like, you know, a week of like 10 hours sleep. So I just am really quiet, which really annoys people because generally I'm not. So they're like, what's wrong? How can we help? And I like so I did realize, like, so I guess for me, the first side of it was just recognizing that like I was having these waves and then realizing that I was just expending so much of my energy because I think in COVID was the inverse to me. Instead of doing less, like I was doing a lot more and a lot more kind of energy work. And so I realized like I would then try to like, you know, do waves of putting back energy. So I would go, like we bought a pass for Little Cataraqui Conservation. I would try to go for a walk or whatever else. But then the challenge also became, if I were being frank, that I have 4 kids and they were all home and I was homeschooling. So like as much as I would try to take time away, it was really not always able to balance it because by the time I finished with their day and schooling and then wanted to make sure that they were exercising. So I guess I would go out with them and we'll go play football and frisbee. So, but there was not much alone time that way. But now I think like, and so as that time progressed, I realized, well, this isn't working because I just don't have the time. Like I just don't have the time. And so then I decided I needed to really kind of, and I'm still working on it, is like cut things that are not worth my time. Not that the cause is not worth my time, but if the speed is not worth and if the energy and the pace is one that's drawing for me, then, you know, I think, you know, it's conditioning myself because also as a person, like I was always taught, you know, you try to do your best, you try to help people, and sometimes you do it to the detriment to yourself. So I think now it's actually been a great lesson to like reevaluate, like, you don't have to be a martyr for the cause. And just because you're not doing this 10,000 thing doesn't mean that you're not doing the other stuff. And if this is the one that's really not working and you feel like you're pushing upstream, even if because in my head, I have this like battle on one shoulder. It's like, you don't complete something. So you have to finish this term out. And I'm like, well, actually it's so exhausting. Why do I, you know? And so just realizing like, if it's not working, that you're not a failure. It's just not working for you in that time. So what are you giving to it? It's probably not your best either. So that's been that. And then this week, like now that we have been back, I realized that I honestly do like 10 jobs. So we got a general manager to try to help with the spa. So then I can do less of that and more of like the exporting and trying to expand. So just also delegating that. So then that's been put off to somebody else. And then just scheduling time for myself, because I realize that if I don't put an actual time block and put something in, then it's because I schedule everybody else. Like we have a calendar, if I show you, it's a mess. And so I'm like, if it is that I can do that with other people, I need to put an hour block for me. So now I'm like forcing myself. So I'm, you know, at night or in the morning, I'm like, this is the exercise time block or the go for a walk time block. And then it's like, I have to schedule things. So I'm like, this is the, I have to go to a Pilates class that I paid for, now can't cancel time block, you know? And so I think just kind of like trying to do things and making sure that you actually schedule yourself and not schedule yourself out is what I'm learning more. And so I think for the first time in almost 2 years, I guess now, coming up to it, I booked off like 4 days, and I told, because my husband's great at it too. Like he went to the weekend for a boys trip, and I'm like, I should be doing that. Like, why am I the one that's like trying to keep it together? They'll all survive. So I was like, you know, for 4 days, I'm going away. I will have my phone. I'm telling no one where I'm going, and I will see you when I come back. So I think just making yourself a priority too, so that you can keep it up, you know. But it has been really kind of a learning curve, because I think if COVID didn't happen, then I would continue in some respects of monitoring like things that I didn't want to do, because I thought that if I didn't do it, somebody else wouldn't do it. But you know, they'll survive, or somebody else will show up, or there will be another opportunity where I can more beneficially give of my time, you know. And so that's my convoluted answer.
No, that's so valuable information, and I agree. As women and business owners, as moms, and you're all over the place. And I think for many in this whole COVID situation, as you say, you sort of have to readjust a little bit. And being a business owner, self-care is sometimes at the bottom of the list, and it should be at the top, because if you're not well, you're not going to have the business, right? Because you're the business, you're building the business. So that's great advice, and very, very important advice. So yes, any other questions? That was a great question, Josie. Any other questions at all?
If you ever want to, I don't know, if you want to bottle that energy and call it something.
Put it in a candle.
I think Jim had a question.
Yes, go ahead, Jim.
Well, actually, Catherine's been waiting for a while. I'll let her go first,
no,
and then I can slip in after.
Okay, sorry.
Go ahead, Jim. No, go ahead, please.
Well, I was just curious, with your efforts of reaching out around the community and trying to put together the community box and similar projects. I was just wondering if there was any kind of resistance that you were getting from some people that, you know, maybe were not really wanting to participate, or not to the levels that you were hoping for with the objectives you were trying to reach, and maybe any lessons learned, or how you overcame any of those kind of roadblocks.
Okay, yeah, good question. So for the initial box, I guess I just started with people who were kind of around, and people that I knew, because I reached out to them and said like, hey, are you interested? And kind of laid out a ground rules. Like, if we're going to do this, this is not a monetary gain. It's more of a promotion and collaboration. And so what you say the price is what we will put in, which is what you will get. But in order to be here and for this to work, we all have to work together to promote it on our social, to promote it on, you know, on whatever platform we can, so that we can help each other. I think, you know, just establish like lessons learned, just making sure to establish those clear ground rules, so that everybody has bought in, and so that there's no misunderstanding. So now when we do it, we're like, here is not a contract, but this is the rules of engagement. If you're going to be part of this, it has to be ready by this particular time, and we're going to give it out by this date. We're all pitching in together for the packaging, so that it's not, you know, burdening the customer, just all of those types of things, so that we have those clear mandates. And in terms of any pushback, not really. I think sometimes just things to learn. So the first box we did was kind of pricey. So we did a $200 box, but that was mainly to go to corporate. That was the intent of mainly corporate clients. But then we adapted, because this, you know, we did have a few interviews and stuff, and people were like, oh, we're really interested in the box too. So then we adapted that. And we made like one that was $95, so that people can buy and kind of gift on their own. And so I think just, you know, making sure you know who you're marketing to, and just having a proper timeline. I think just because of COVID, we did it very short, and it was, oh, here, we're going to do this now because this is what it is. But this year, starting early just to make sure that we can get to who we have to get to in advance, so everybody knows, you know, months in advance how much product they have to produce or order, and so that they can have, especially now with raw materials and challenges with shipping, just to make sure that all that happens at the same time.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Great question. Catherine.
I have so many questions, but I'll try and zero in on one of the ones you kind of were talking about rebounding, and sometimes you get better results. So that's the first question. Is it that the boxes you started to create because you couldn't have time hands-on with clients? Is that what came out? Obviously it came out of that, yeah. But is that one of the better results that you were surprised about? Because
it was really great, because it showed, you know, at first we're like, oh, we'll do it because we wanted to, like, our clients were like, how do we get our stuff? And we're like, well, hey, we'll get you a pedicure, because you know, at first they were like, oh, it'll be 2 weeks, and then they're like, oh, my nails needed to, you know, I have shellac on them, how do I get them off? So then we're like, oh, we can send you products. So I think it came out of a necessity, and then also wanting to give my staff like money to be able to make the boxes and deliver the boxes and make them feel like they were supported through it, even though they can get served, but here was also some bonus that you can get as well. And I think the intention always at some point was to, you know, kind of boost the products. So I think how we started, I wanted to introduce the products through these spa services just to see if it resonated with people and if they liked it. And then, as you can see, 4 kids later, and it was just a little busy to be like, hey, products are my main control. So now it kind of also just kind of gave me a kick in the bum to say, like, let's do this a little faster than maybe you thought you were going to do it. And so, yeah, a combination of it was really surprising how it resonated. And so then I realized, okay, let's try to broaden the scope of this, because if it's working here, maybe this same type of personality somewhere else will also want it. And then just now being like, this is going to be an important factor, because, you know, the results of, you know, the impacts of COVID, like, we're still in it, and the impacts of it are going to continue. And so it's for the only reason, if I want to keep staff employed, isn't going to be spa services, because it depends on the temperament of people. It depends on it just is too, there are too many variables to make sure that that's steady. So the only way that I can support them and make sure that they can still have their hours is by doing and continuing to push this, so that they can make products, they can take pictures. There's something that can occupy their time if they're not doing a service. So it's been good.
Wow. The second question had to do with product, and you know, I have no vested interest in this. I'm not someone to carry product. I do a service, but it sounds like you're making the product here. Is that I used to work as a designer in a factory, and I know how much is involved in doing anything that's going to go to market. With 4 kids, homeschooling, my goodness.
So the products actually are made in Trinidad still, but we are, and then we bring them up to Canada, but we are actually in the process of building a plant in Kingston so that we can make it here. So that was another reason why I needed to be like, I can't be the go-to person in the spa if I'm trying to expand and build a spa and get the products going. Yeah. So yeah, because you're right, it's a whole different job.
Exactly. Wow. It's huge. And the last one was about the panel. You talked about having a panel. I didn't catch the name of it. Is this something you're still doing?
I haven't done it recently. So we did it for the whole year. So it was called Let's Talk Kingston.
Right.
And if you go on Facebook, there's a group, and I think you can go through, and there are links to the various talks. So the first talk, we just had a variety of people just speaking to the experience. So we had like Pavna Varma from United Way, we had the mayor, we had Hector Singh from St. Lawrence College, we had Tiana Edwards from the Equity Diversity at Queens, we had Iman Carter, he was in the military and from the Muslim Society, we had Mona. We had the head of the Sikh, so just different cultural entities. And so we had that. And then the second one we did was with some elders. So we had Robert Rickridge, who does a lot of, he's at SLC and Corrections Canada, but also does a lot of stuff with home-based housing and is the Indigenous representative. We had 2 elders, and we had a chief from Rama. And I feel like we had one other person I forgot. So just talking about, you know, things like, you know, for the intent was to just make it simple and cordial and really a place to learn. So like, you know, land acknowledgement, is it tokenistic or not? Like, what do you think of with indigeneity? Like, what does this mean to you? What would you like to be represented? You know, how do you think we can individually do things better? How can we as a parent, maybe in school, can we advocate so that there's books and being taught by Indigenous people? Or, and is there like, you know, for example, we did one on Black History. A friend of mine developed an app and it's amazing. And so essentially, my kids came home for the 4th year with like these trees of Martin Luther King. And I'm like, okay, this is ridiculous. Like, we live in Canada and there's so many people of color who have contributed, like we could do better than this. And so we did this whole puzzle and it was great, talking about like the Blackmans who founded like the TTC, essentially, talking about like Africville in Nova Scotia, about Dresden and Don settlements, about, you know, Matthew de Costa, who was the first translator who came here, you know, helping the French when they were coming to speak to Indigenous peoples. Like, there was just so much wealth of information, and I'm like, we need to start doing that. And so we've been working through that panel with the school boards to introduce like interactive learning. So it was like a crossword puzzle and a fill in the blank and like that sort of stuff, so that it's interesting, but you're also learning information. And so that was one. And then we did another one to do with police. So just, we had the chief of police there. We had the CAO Lani. Who else do we have? Ophelia, she's a host at Your TV, who also does a lot of stuff with counseling and grief, and Robert and a few other people. And so it was good to just have that discussion about like how people feel, and like, you know, ticketing or profiling, and then their experiences, and just letting people know that this happens to people, you know, and you may not think it's so, but it is present. And how can we start to change that narrative a little bit more? And then we had a final panel kind of to end that theme, to just bring it back and say, like, in a year, what has been done? So we had representatives from each of the panels just talking about kind of progress in the community, with the city, with police, and so that was kind of neat.
Thank you very much. It's so important, Abba. I'm part of an international organization of image consultants, and we had a conference virtually, and there was a lot spent on diversity and inclusion, and it was really exciting to see what was happening within our organization that is global. So it is so important what you're doing, and I thank you for that. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you. Great questions, great content, very inspiring. I hope it set up your day and your week. And I know that Josie would like to say a few words as well now. Any more questions before we end it with a Q&A anymore? I don't see anything else come up. So I guess Josie.
Thanks, Gabby. Abba, that was amazing. And I'm really grateful that you spent some time with us here this morning, sharing a bit of your story, sharing your insights. Your mom must be incredible. I would love to have met her. And, you know, because obviously she instilled great fortitude, a love of community within you, which has made a great impact in Kingston and all of us here. So I'm very grateful to her and to you.
I'll pass it along. She's here, actually. I have her working. We're doing this month.
She's here?
She just came up because Trinidad, our borders actually had been closed for the whole year. It just opened a month ago. And so she came up then because she was missing her grandchildren. Oh. And this month we're like doing various, we're supporting in different Pride events. And so today is the queer book reading at the TED. So I'm like, that's your shift. So I'm sending her there tonight to hand out some cards.
And she's 93, right? That's wonderful. That's amazing. But I think one of the things I got from this wonderful conversation with you is how each and every one of us can make a huge impact, little by little. And before we know it, we're doing the impossible, you know. But I'm also glad to hear that you recognize that it's important to have self-care for yourself. And you're probably even a better ambassador now for Cher Mayor going through that, right? So you're actually helping a tremendous amount of your clientele to become healthier and stronger. So Abba, really from the bottom of our hearts, thank you.
Very much so. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you, everyone. And pretty great questions. That was a nice discussion.
So just so everybody know, this is being recorded. So all of you will receive an email this week with the actual final recording, the video. It will also be on our YouTube channel. So if there's any time that you want to go back and listen in again, you are welcome to do that. Also, for those of you who, I'm not sure if of all of your subscribers, but you're welcome to subscribe for free to our newsletter. It comes out every 2 weeks. It also will give you information on such wonderful speakers like Abba that are coming up. Our next speaker actually is October 19th. Her name is Cindy Manor. She has had more than 20 years of experience in publishing and marketing, advertising. And then one day, a terrible accident happened to her son. She helped him to recover. And through that experience, she has recently left the corporate world and is now the Senior Director of Philanthropy at the Dave Smith Youth Treatment Center in Ottawa, which, by the way, the treatment center is available to all young people throughout Ontario. So she'll be speaking about what the center does to help young people, especially with mental health issues and addiction. And if you don't know anything about Dave Smith, I think he would have loved to have met Abba. It's a little bit like you, Abba, except he lived in Ottawa. So if you can, please do join us on October 19th. Again, all this information will be in our newsletter. And thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. I hope you're all doing well. And really, Gabby and I look forward to hopefully seeing you all again soon in person.
In person. Thank you for your time, everyone. Thank you for joining us, and hope to see you October 19th. Have a great week.
Thank you.
Bye.
Good. Have a good day, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.